Hey guys, what's up? It's Day from Unscripted Strength, and we're going to try something new here where we're going to do a little programming walkthrough for a random avatar. So I'm going to give myself I have 5 minutes here. I'm going to do 7 minutes because I tend to talk a lot. So a 7 minute timer where I'm going to walk through what my initial thoughts are when building a program for a random person or someone that I'm working with, not a random person. A disclaimer, as I am going through programs, I usually write out what I call a outline, a skeleton, a template where I'm writing out all my initial thoughts and how I would approach the training. And then from there, there's a lot of details and thought and time that goes into it. So what you're going to see here is my build out of like the skeleton, and some of the details, but nothing too in depth. So there's a lot more that goes to it, but I just want to give you a general idea of how to approach it. If you are planning on, writing a program for yourself or for someone else and what things to consider. So the first thing with every program that I write is I like to know the person that I'm working with and some of their information. So here we have a made up avatar. She is a 30-year-old female, and she's been training for about 5 years consistently. And that's 5 years of consistent training, strength training. So nothing, she's hasn't done like an endurance program or anything like that. She's been doing 5 years of strength training at a semi-private gym. So she goes to a semi-private gym about 3 times a week, and she's been pretty consistent there. So she's been exposed to a lot of movement patterns, and has a basic understanding of strength training. She works as a full-time high school teacher and is a mom of a toddler. So her schedule is a bit tight, knowing that teachers work long hours. They carry a lot of work with them after school. And she also has to take care of a kid. So, and, has a family. So there's a lot there. So knowing that, that's going to impact a lot about how we go through the training, and how we program for her, knowing that her time is limited and she doesn't have all the time in the world or energy to be dedicating to a training. So that's a huge thing. All right. So some of the athletic endeavors that she's achieved over the past 5 years of training, is that she has reached her goal of a 135-pound bench, which is a big goal a lot of women have. They go into strength training never having lifted before, and they maybe seen a video or someone at a gym benching with 45-pound plates on the side, and they're like, I want to do that one day. So that's 135 pounds total. She has been able to do that, and that was a big milestone of hers. And she's also able to deadlift 2 times her body weight. So she is pretty good there. So she has a good foundation. For both upper and lower body. That being said, she still has a lot of goals. She wants to now introduce running into her program. Like any person who turns 30 years old, they just have this magical itch where it's like, I need to start running and I need to do some type of race. So she wants to run a half marathon and doesn't have a set timeline, but we're going to assume within a year or so. So give a year timeline. So she's not doing a half marathon in 3 months or anything like that. She's going to take a full year at least to get there. She also wants to maintain her current strength, knowing that there's going to be some give and take. She's not going to maintain all of her strength, and there's going to be some movements where they're not going to be as strong and all that, knowing that she's going to start adding in some running and that she understands that. But she wants to maintain a good amount of it. So she doesn't want to become completely weak and still wants to strength train. And she also wants to be able to do one unassisted pull-up. So that's another goal a lot of people have, is that they want to be able to do an unassisted pull-up. So again, she is pretty strong, and has been training consistently. So being able to do one unassisted pull-up should be doable, especially now that she'll have concentrated work towards that. Injury history, she's not super injury prone, but she does have reoccurring knee issues. Her left knee is a bit funky and sometimes gives her some issues there. So being mindful of that, which will be very important as we start introducing running to her program because of the impact and load that it takes on joints. Okay, cool. So I'm going to give myself a 7-minute timer. I'm going to set it here so I can see it in front of me. And I'm going to try to not blab too much as I go through, and just kind of give you an idea of what goes through my head when I initially do this. Okay, cool. Starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. All right, sweet. So she's currently strength training now, 3 times a week, and has some light cardio on the days in between, including 20-minute walks during her lunch break on Tuesday and Thursday. And then Sunday is a 1 to 3 hour hike that she usually does with her family. Awesome. So I'm going to keep that 1 to 3 hour hike because that's something she does with her family, and I'm not trying to take that away. And I think that's a really good way um, of keeping good aerobic fitness. It's a long duration, so she's getting good foundational work there. Except I'm going to add a little caveat to that, and I'm going to say wear vest if possible. So if she has a weight vest or something, make it a little bit more difficult and put that in there. Okay, cool. So that's the first change I'm going to do. Next thing I'm going to do is she does strength training 3 times a week. I'm going to bring that down to 2 times, and each one will be full body. So she'll have full body 1 and full body 2. That way, the reason I'm doing that is because if she's doing a lower body day, upper and full body, and now she's going to introduce running, if I keep her 3 times a week, there is the time limitation. Okay, she's going to have to start running and also doing 3 times of lifting, and that new stimulus of running may impact her a little bit more than anticipated. So I'd rather start off a little bit more conservative. So I'm going to bring down her strength training and then bring up her cardio. So that's step number 1. Another reason, another thing to consider is the reason I changed it to full body for each day versus a lower upper split, for example, is because I want to make sure that I'm not completely trashing her lower body on one day, which then further impacts the cardio days. So if I do full body one day, full body the next day, it'll work both her lower and upper body, and her lower body won't be completely trashed, impacting her runs. All right, cool. So she doesn't do any running now. She just does walking. So I'm going to start introducing a few things. So on Monday, I'm going to do a 30-minute walk run. And she could do this during her lunch break. She could do it before work, after work. A walk run, just getting some time in there of running. So it's like, okay, let's pick up the pace a little bit. You're used to walking. Let's do a walk run where you're running at an easy pace. And I'll write that down. So run at easy pace. We'll say easy to moderate. Take walking break as needed. Okay, so she's accumulating some time there. All right, sweet. And then her next cardio day, I'm going to have it be on Wednesday, and I'm going to have her do let's say something like 2-mile run. Try to be consistent with that 2 miles. So you're not trying to well, she won't be trying to run completely or she won't be trying to introduce any walking in there. So I wanted to try to run as much as possible, the 2 miles as much as possible. Okay, so keep it consistent. Try not to take any running breaks, walking breaks. Try not to take any walking breaks. Keep pace easy. Okay, so I want her to keep the pace not easy, let's say easier than anticipated. I do not want you to redline. So I don't want her to go full. It's not a 2-mile time trial. Just want her to get 2 miles in. And then on Friday, guess what? She's doing the same thing as Monday. So again, you'll notice here, nothing here is too crazy in terms of like how interesting it is. It's all very straightforward, right? So she's just getting time in the running domain that she's not used to. Okay, cool. So now let's go to strength training now that we have a good foundation of her lifting or her running. All right, sweet. So originally she's been doing 3 times a week, lower, upper, full body, and trap bar, deadlift, and benching were like her main strength movements. So we're actually going to keep that. And we're going to keep the same rep range. And the reason I keep the same rep range is because I want her to still do traditional strength training. So with running, she is now getting a lot of low impact volume work. And with strength training, I want it to complement that. So her strength training is not going to mimic running. It's not going to mimic the same demand. It's going to have different energy systems so that she can become stronger for her running. So, I don't want, it doesn't have to replicate it. So just because she is now let me zoom out. Just because she is now doing something that is high volume work doesn't mean that her strength training also has to be high volume. All right. So I'm going to have some isometric knee stuff, knee health. So something like an isometric split squat, isometric loaded split squat on one day. And on the next day, I'm going to have the same thing. Not the same thing, but same structure. Oh my God. Isometric knee health. And just to switch it up and give some variety in here, I'm going to have an iso loaded Spanish squat. Awesome. Cool. So she's got both of that. On this day, I have 30 more seconds. Guess what? I'm going to 8 minutes. So on this day, in addition to that, she has trap bar deadlift and isometric knee health. So she has lower body. I'm going to add an upper body exercise here. On the second day, her primary lift is a bench. So on full body one, knowing that she does benching that day, I'm going to do some pull up work, maybe some assisted pull-ups, or some pull-up isos, but I'm going to have some pull-up work. So there's some pulling, and I'm also going to have some type of overhead press. Okay. Or let's call it vertical press, single arm. Since she's doing a horizontal press on Thursday, I'm going to have a single arm vertical press on the first day just to complement that. So her bench here, I'm going to have a horizontal row on there, as well as of some pull-up work. We're going to have pull-up work on both days since that's one of her goals. All right, sweet. On top of this, I'm going to have some hamstring knee flexion work on the first day to complement the demands of running. So there, and calves. All right, sweet. And then on this day here, I have 15 more seconds. I have horizontal row pull-up work. I'm benching that. I have, let's do some, let's see, posterior chain work, hinging. I don't have a lot of hinging, so I'm going to have some RDLs of some sort. And let's do single leg RDLs, just she's not doing, so she has a bilateral loaded squat. There we go. Single leg RDLs and some calves. So calves on both days. Okay, sweet. I finished this in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. So let's go over it really quickly. So we can see what I missed and also just kind of give you an overview. All right, sweet. So she went from 3 days a week of strength training, lower body, upper body, full body split with 3 days of walking throughout the week. Now that she wants to start doing a half marathon, but she has no running background, we're going to start off really easy on the cardio side. We're going to bump it up from the 3 days of walking, and we're going to include now 4 days of cardio. 1 day is going to be walking, which is the hike, and then 3 days that include running. So the 3 days of running, 2 of them are just 30 minutes of a walk run. I want her to consider walking as a break. I don't want her running the whole time if it's not possible. If she feels like she is being gassed out, which is very likely if someone hasn't run in a while or hasn't run before. So I want her to just get some mileage in and get some time running. So it's nothing too intense or nothing too creative. Just keep it simple. So she's going to do a walk run 2 of those days. One of those running days is going to be a 2-mile run. So now she's trying to cover for distance. I'm going to ask her to try to not take running breaks here and just try to run consistently throughout. That's going to force her to kind of learn to pace. Okay. What I anticipate, I don't know if this will happen, but I anticipate that when she does do this 2-mile run, she's going to go and overshoot it maybe in the first quarter mile, half a mile, and realize, oh, I went out a little bit too hot, and we'll have to throttle it back. And that's what I want, right? So that she's learning the pacing. So now during this week, this is the first week, she's getting a little bit more running time, and it's just an easy accumulation, and she'll probably for the next few weeks, we'll just do volume accumulation of running. Okay, so these 30-minute walk runs will turn into 35-minute walk runs to 40 to 45. And that 2-mile run, 2.5 miles, 3 miles, all that stuff. Okay, cool. So that's the cardio. The strength, we brought it down from 3 days a week to 2 days a week. now that her running volume's going up, right? Time is limited, so is energy. So we don't want to just pile on what she's already doing, or we want to create a balance. Each day is going to be full body instead of doing a upper body and a lower body split. We're going to have both days full body, keeping her two main lifts that she already was doing consistent. So she's still going to trap our deadlift. She's still going to bench for 3 to 6 reps. Okay. And then we'll see based on feedback, like, hey, there's a lot of fatigue accumulating from the runs. We may have to adjust the intensity of these lifts. Okay. But for the first week, I think keeping it very similar in terms of the rep range and intensity, and seeing how that impacts, how it's impacted from her increase in running. Then we are going to go into we're going to keep or add in some isometric knee health work. So the first day she's going to do some isometric loaded split squats, and then the second day she's going to do isometric loaded Spanish squats. Two reasons for that: one, she has reoccurring knee issues, so we want to address that. Two, she's going to be running more, so we have to build very strong, healthy tendons for that. Some things I may also consider is adding some very low level plyometrics in the beginning of the lift in order to build also tendon strength through that. So something to consider there. All right. Then, knowing that she wants to work on being able to do an unassisted pull up, we're going to include some pull up work both days. So, anything from assisted pull ups to isometric pull up holds, heavy lat pull downs, things like that. The first day I have assisted pull-ups, so a little bit more dynamic. On the second day, for her pull-up work, I would probably do something like an eccentric pull-up, or a pull-up isometric at different points of the eccentric portion of the movement. All right, cool. Then on top of that, let's go back to the first day. I'm jumping around here. I'm going to put a single arm vertical press. The reason I did that was because on the second day, her main movement is a bench, which is a bilateral horizontal press. So on the first day, I figured, all right, let's vary it up a bit. We're going to do another pressing movement, but it's going to be single arm, and it's going to be vertical versus horizontal. All right. And then lastly, some accessory work on both days. We're going to have some calves work, working the foot ankle complex there, just to help with the running, as well as some movements that will help posterior chain running demands, which is hamstring knee flexion work. So basically any type of hamstring curl, leg curl variation, if she has access to a hamstring curl machine, if she's going to do sliders, hamstring walkouts or anything, or Nordic curls, anything like that. And then the second day, she will do single leg RDL to work the hamstring through a hip hinge. All right, sweet. So for this avatar, this is how I would go through and kind of introduce training to them for their specific goals. Let me know if you have any questions or any feedback. Curious to see if you would make any changes to this too. Give yourself about 5, 7, 8 minutes and kind of create a program and see what you come up with.